Jon Milligan, Candler County Young Farmer Teacher. Today I'm going to show you the step-by-step process on how we build wood duck nesting boxes. The materials needed for this project, we have two 6-foot 1x10 cypress boards. We've got 22 exterior screws, 2.5 inches long, and we've also got 1 3/16 inch eye hooks. So the equipment needed for this project, we have our drill with about a 1/8 inch drill bit in it. That's for drilling the pilot holes. We have another drill with our hex head bit for our screws. We used a 3-inch hole saw. Tape measure is always important. The rasp was used to help flatten out the hole combination square. You will have to have a router. We're using a 3/8 inch round over bit, and we've also got a skill saw to make all the cuts. If you do have access to a table saw, by all means use it, or even a compound miter saw. Every board that we run, it's not a requirement, but if you have access to a planer, we do recommend planing down all your rough cut lumber down to at least 1 inch thick. We will need one 24-inch long back, two 24-inch long sides, one 15-inch long top, one 22-inch long front, and one 10x10 bottom. So we will go ahead and get started laying those out. All right, now that we've got all our pieces cut out, on our back, at the top of our back, we're going to bevel this at an 11-degree angle. Our front, the top side of our front, we're going to bevel it at an 11-degree angle. And the back side of our top, we're going to bevel it at an 11-degree angle. On our two sides, we're going from 24 inches down to 22 inches, which will also be an 11-degree angle. Our back, or our bottom, we don't have to worry about it right now because that'll come into play just a little bit later on. We're going to use a table saw and a miter saw just because we have access to them, but every bit of this can be done using a circular saw. Now we're ready. We're at the table saw. We've got our back in place with our fence to help make sure that we get the correct bevel. Our blade is set at an 11-degree angle to get that bevel. We just want to make sure that the bottom edge stays up against that fence the whole time as we push this board through the saw. Okay, so we've got our 11-degree angle on the top of the back. So the lower side is going to be facing to the inside of the box. The upper side is going to be facing the back of the box. Now we're going to repeat the same process that we did on the back to the front and the top. All right, now we're just marking off our angles for our sides, and the way that I normally do that is I've measured up 22 inches to get my mark right at the edge, and I'm going from the 24-inch corner down to that 22-inch mark using a framing square. All right, now to cut this 11-degree angle on your sides, You can use a skill saw or a circular saw, or you can set your miter saw to an 11-degree angle to get this piece cut out. And that's your side piece. Now we're going to cut out the door, which is going to be one of our sides. We want the short end of the side to be facing towards us, the long end to be facing towards the blade. We've got our fence set up to where it is 6 inches from the inside of that fence to the inside of the blade, and we've got our blade set at a 45-degree angle. And we've got our 2 pieces for the door that's going to open and close just like that. Now we're going to put the hole in the front using our 3-inch hole saw. We're using a jig that's got it set up to where the center of this hole is going to be 4 inches down from the top edge of that board. On this first pass, we're only going to drill down about halfway, and then on the second pass, we're going to drill all the way through. We've already completed our hole on the second side, so we're coming back to our first pass where we drilled halfway through. We're going to finish that out. Then we're going to slide it to the center, because you can see it's still got 2 little tips. We'll slide it to the center. The size of this hole is extremely important. It's 4 inches wide by 3 inches tall. That's the right size. That's the size hole that wood ducks are looking for whenever they're trying to find their nest. What we do with our students is use a rasp in order to flatten out them holes just a little bit. We've got our router bit, our 3/8 inch round over router bit installed. You want to try and keep it just as flush. We're going to round over around this edge. That's to protect the duck whenever they come flying in, because they will hit this hole going about 35 to 40 miles an hour. So. All right, now we've got our door set up. We want our long beveled side facing up, our short bevel side facing down. We're going to use our 3/8 inch round over bit and just round off this top outside edge. That gives us a little bit of a gap, so opening and closing the door becomes a little bit easier and it won't get jammed up on us. Okay, I've swapped out my router bit to my 3/8 inch dovetail bit, and what I've got laid out here is I've started marking off, come down from the bottom of the hole on the inside of the front, come down 2 inches. We're going to router slits into this front to give the baby ducks a way to get out of the box. Okay, so by the time we get finished with it, this is what it's going to look like. Each one of these slots are about a 1/2 inch apart from one another from center to center. But that gives them a way to climb up to get out of the box. Now it comes time for layout with our screw placement. These, if you're taking the class, everybody that participates in the class will get a set of these to take back to their own school. If not, they're really easy to build and make. We have our front jig where we've got all the screw holes already drilled out so we know how to mark it. We've also got our back jig with all the screw holes already drilled out. What we're going to do is, we've got our back. You want to make sure that the bevel, the long end, is up. We're going to lay our template down on it, make sure it's flush at the top and the bottom. Then I typically use a Sharpie or a pen or something, but you can use whatever you have. But we go through and mark off all of our holes. On our front piece, we want to make sure that the short side of the bevel is face up, because this is going to be the outside of the box. We're going to use our 1/8 inch drill bit. Go ahead and drill pilot holes to help prevent that wood from splitting when we start screwing this box together. Okay, now that we've got all of our screw holes, our pilot holes drilled out, now we're ready to begin assembling our duck boxes. All right, we have our door side. We have our other side. I'm not really worried about a whole lot of overhang on the bottom side, because the box will be hanging up on a pole. Okay, so using our 2.5 inch exterior screws, that's what we're going to attach the back to the sides through our pilot holes. And you also want to make sure that as you're screwing them down, that your side stays flush with the edge of the back right through here. Same thing on this side, you want to make sure it's flush. We've already rounded that off to make sure that the door opens and closes like it's supposed to. You do want to make sure that they're not super tight, otherwise it makes it extremely difficult to open up that door. So as long as it's flush with the back, you should still be able to open it up, because you do want more or less a free swinging door. So now it's time to add on our front piece. Just like with the back piece, we want to make sure that it is flush with this bevel. thing on the hinge screw on the front side. It does not have to be super tight. Okay. That way your door does swing somewhat free, and we're good to go on that. The reason why we put this bevel on the top side is so that whenever that top sits on, we want it to be straight up and down flush with the back. You can see a small gap that just helps the door to swing freely open. But you want to make sure that your screws, you're only going to have 4 holding them in. You want to make sure that they're coming into the back board, not the side boards, and then the 2 on the front, you want to make sure they're coming into that front board and not the side boards. Alright, now our top is attached, so now it's time for the bottom. Every bottom for every box is going to have to be customized, because when you're dealing with high school students, you know good and well they're not going to check to see how square the box is, or there's always going to be a mishap. So always go back and double check. We just start with a 10 by 10 bottom so that we can trim it down to make it match up with each individual box. Okay, I've got my bottom piece cut out now. I've also got a jig template made for the drain holes in the bottom. This is an extremely important part for the box. Alright, so on these drain holes, we're going to cut the drain holes or drill them out using a 1/4 inch drill bit. On installing the bottom, what we're going to do, we've got our combination square set at a 1/4 inch. We offset the bottom by 1/4 inch, and that is just to keep the water, whenever it runs down the side, it won't wick back up into the box. On our door, to help hold it closed, we're going to install, we've already installed one eye hook, and we're installing the second one. You want to drill you a pilot hole and then screw them in. The purpose of this is when you mount the boxes on the poles, you can drop a 16 penny nail straight down through both eye hooks, and that helps to keep the door closed. The other thing that we added in, we drilled a 3/8 inch hole that we're going to bolt this box to the pole with. Our standard poles that we use are 10 foot long, 2 inch galvanized poles. Alright, and that is our completed duct box. Every school is going to be set up a little bit different. What we have found that works with our students is to have an assembly line type process going on, to where each student's responsible for certain parts and certain aspects of it, including quality control. We will come back later on with a part 2 showing how we actually install the boxes for the landowners later on in the fall. My email address is on the screen, so if you have any questions or comments, by all means feel free to contact me and let me know what your concerns are. Hope that all of you have a great upcoming school year. Thank y'all.